The file you are about to hear has been thoroughly scrutinized by the Ethics Committee and approved by the O5 Council for release to trusted associates of the Foundation. This is SCP UnREDACTED. It is cold. I felt nothing in my shell as the still ambience echoed in the deep sea. Placed alongside several others of my kind, I'm but an immature being. Despite this, nothing threatens my existence. Baffling as it is, I was left alone. Together we sit, line by line, embryo by embryo. There were hundreds, if not millions, that lay amongst my shell. And yet, Mother never came back. Left in the deep sea, we grew and grew, with the absence of a parent figure. Why would she produce such a vast amount of embryons and leave us bare? In spite of this, I had grown enough to think my own thoughts, to become self-aware. But these thoughts also brought several ominous ones as well. Left with my siblings, I began to mull over the truancy of my mother. It had shaken me to my core, thinking that she left me to rot on my own. However, such thoughts eventually left me, washing away in the flow of consciousness. As I felt the water rush over me, I could feel vibrations amongst the shells. My brethren were shaking as if to escape, to leave. I watched from my own shell, my prying eyes staring right into theirs. Where could they go in this dark environment? I saw, as many of their carapaces started to crack, wriggling around in their now broken shells, they slowly grew accustomed to the water. Like grains of sand, they began swimming toward the surface, toward the light, which was overshadowed by a tiny figure. Something was happening, and I didn't know what. Eventually, I heard the sounds from the surface, loud and abrupt. My siblings had been swimming towards their demise. Why must I watch as they approached their demise? Why must I watch while they took the initiative? Why had I been left alone? I shook violently. My stomach started churning, saliva dripping from my throat. At that moment, my brother emerged from my maw, and we both looked up with two pairs of eyes, as a loud roar emanated from the heavens while we thought, "Oh, she's calling. It's time to wake up." Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you like what you hear, follow the link in the description to patreon.com/scpunredacted and help support me by becoming a patron for as little as $3 a month. You can get access to production logs, merchandise, recognition, and even a part in a skip. Regardless of tier, all patrons get early access to every single episode. I don't have the talent it takes to write a skip. All I do is read. Original authors make this podcast possible, so credit to the original author. Their links in the description. Show them some love as well. Consider becoming a member of the SCP Wiki. Upvote their work and maybe write a skip of your own. Maybe I'll read it here someday. You never know if you never try. The content of this podcast and content relating to the SCP Foundation, including the SCP Foundation logo, is licensed under Creative Commons Sharealike 3.0, and all concepts originate from scpwiki.com and its authors. This recording, being derived from this content, is hereby also released under Creative Commons Sharealike 3.0.